Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Kaya Morton, and I am the CEO and co-founder of LOCKGREEN. And welcome to our third episode of What's in Your Stash Box. Today, we're going to have a guest called by the name of Mallory O'Connor. She's going to be joining us very shortly. But just a recap of what we've had in our first two episodes in case you missed it. Our first episode, we had Crystal Ortiz out of Florida, who came to cannabis by way of having a medical issue. And then she went on to merge her love of makeup with the cannabis culture and ended up co-founding Hi Curious, which is a content marketplace for the cannabis industry. She's out of Florida. Our second guest was Kevin Cranford out of Connecticut, who came to the cannabis industry by way of cannabis advocacy and law reform. He went on to merge pride for his home state of Connecticut with cannabis culture and formed a lifestyle brand called Connecticut. And through Connecticut, they do hiking trips, munchie brunches, and they have merch and apparel and accessories, all types of cool stuff. Definitely check out his website. Both of those interviews are on my Instagram and YouTube pages. Check them out if you missed them. But tonight, like I mentioned before, we're going to have Mallory O'Connor. She is the founder of Normal Moms Club. And let's see if she is in here yet. I'm going to join her in. Okay, she hasn't joined just yet. But when she comes in, we're going to bring her in. Please stay tuned to the end. These interviews are short and sweet. Just to give you, just to be able to share these awesome stories from folks across the country in the industry. So we'll have it short and sweet, but at the end we'll share a discount code so whoever is listening in can save when they get their Lot Green stash box. So let's see here. Let's see where Mallory is. Let's see. Okay, and as she's coming in as well, I don't know if she missed out on coming into this first part. Let's see here. Okay. I am just waiting here. Okay, as we are waiting for her, oh, there she is. Mallory has joined us. All right, I just invited her. When she comes in, I'm going to go ahead and read her bio. Mallory, I just invited you. Yay!
Hi.
There you
How,
are.
how are you? Oh, I see you right there. What up? How are you?
I say, okay, until she comes,
Of course, the second I look away to light my bowl, my screen goes blank, but
Of
Instagram
course,
turns off,
but
right?
it's okay. It's been that kind of day. We were talking earlier in the day. Literally everybody who I've talked to today has had a day. How about you guys watching? Has it been a day for you? I don't know what it is, but that's okay. We are here. We are blessed. And I thank you for your time. Thank you for everyone who's joining us. Yes. Okay. So before we jump in, Mallory, I am going to read your bio. I want everybody to know who you are. And then, of course, you will elaborate even further. Okay, so Mallory O'Connor runs Normal Moms Club, a page breaking the stigma of cannabis through education and content that has empowered followers around the country to medicate and use plant medicine to improve their lives. Mallory shares her own journey as a canna mom, fighting stigmas, school phone calls, and being no nonsense when it comes to keeping her kids educated enough about plant medicine to stay safe. I'm going to add on to that bio. Mallory has a wonderful story, and she'll talk about it later, I'm sure, about how using her Lot Green stash box helped her in a very compromising situation. It's one of my favorite success stories that we have here at Lot Green. So welcome, Mallory, and thank you for your time. Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I'm so glad to be
Awesome.
here.
All right. So let's jump in. Let's jump in. Okay. So tell me about your backstory, who you were before cannabis and what led you to this point in the cannabis industry.
Yeah, I think I have to say my first experience with cannabis was definitely with D.A.R.E. I learned all the scary things that we learn about cannabis, and it was second grade, and I was like gung ho. I won the D.A.R.E essay contest. There's a picture of me
Yeah, I
floating around
posted
with my
it
D.A.R.E
today.
shirt, and like my teacher like I am not gonna smoke weed.
Yep.
And
Yep.
now here I am. Going as I grew up, I saw so, I had a family member who was very addicted to heroin. I had, most of my family with alcohol problems. And then as I got into high school, I'm from Connecticut, and the pharmaceutical opioid crisis really started to hit us. And, I just thought it was crazy. I was like a teenager seeing people, other teenagers coming home with like major opiates, like
Wow.
Oxycontin, fentanyl patches, all these things in high school. And I remember when I was, about 15, 16 years old, California legalized the medical program, and it had gone to Congress, and Congress said, no, we're not going to make medical cannabis legal. And I was like, what? Why? You know what I mean? I was so mad. And so at 15 years old, I wrote an editorial to my paper, and I said, what, why? Like, why? I'm 15 years old. Cannabis is not bad. It is a plant. You prescribe oxys. People get addicted to these things. They die. And I really let it have, like, I still can feel now, like, the passion that I felt then. And I still have like the article. My mom pulled it up for me years later, and it was a big deal. Like nobody used
Yeah.
cannabis, especially not in
Yeah.
Connecticut back then. So I really, that was when I first kind of spoke
At
out against it.
15. At
And then
15.
yes, 15. Yeah, before I ever smoked, like, let me just say
Yeah.
that I was not like using cannabis at 15. It wasn't something that I was familiar with. I
Yeah.
was familiar with it, but not personally. I
And
just
that's
knew like
amazing that you
why.
came to that
Um,
after number one being in D.A.R.E. We all were. We all loved it. Or at least I did. I loved
yeah,
going to D.A.R.E. when I was younger. You came you came you came to that point after going to D.A.R.E. Also after seeing what you saw around you with all those other drugs. Number three, knowing that cannabis was a
yeah,
plant, and it's like, why is this illegal, but this is legal? So your
yeah,
15-year-old mind was smart enough to just to put all those things together and then speak out about it. What did your parents think? What
yeah.
did your parents think?
They were definitely upset. It wasn't, yeah, it was before, they would write to your parents and say, hey, can we get your permission to like print this? I mailed it in without anybody knowing. So like everybody knew. And I grew up in a small town. Like there was like I had 60
Wow.
kids in my class. So everybody knew like from then on that Mallory was a stoner.
Wow. I just think that's courageous. You know what I mean? That's courageous.
Yeah. I think we're so much more, it's so much easier to feel passionate about
Yeah.
stuff like that when you're that age
Yeah.
because you really
Yeah. It
see
made
it,
sense.
And you're
Yeah.
not worried about what everybody else
Yeah.
thinks. You want people to think.
Yeah.
I wanted people to
Yeah.
know I
I
was a
can
rebel.
tell. You go, girl. Yes. Okay. So you were writing letters. You saw everything going on around you. Then what was next in your path to here?
So then, one of my friends took me to a Grateful Dead show. And then my life just spun in a totally different direction. I think a much needed direction. I started going to Dead shows, and I ended up being on tour for about 8 years. I pretty much followed Rat Dog around, Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead. We went to music festivals. I just was around a really open and great group of people, and we were following a band that we really loved. I saw all of the country. I
Wow.
drove all over the country, and it was, you know, it was really wonderful. I made grilled cheese. I sold socks to get to the next show.
Wow.
You know, it was a really simple and fun life. I got to experience a lot of psychedelics at that period, which I feel like really healed my
Mm-hmm.
brain from a lot of
Mm-hmm.
trauma. You know, I definitely, after that period, I cut down a lot of my anxiety, and it cut down a lot of my fear towards people, I think, because my life was just
Mm-hmm.
about music, like, and it really, seeing a live show every night changed it. And then, you know, when you're following the Dead, you a lot of times will
Mm-hmm.
end up in San Francisco, and from San Francisco you meet, I met, you know, in the early 2000s, really people who really grew cannabis up on the hills. And that's when I got
Mm-hmm.
into trimming, and then I was growing, you know, before I knew it, I was like up on a hill
Yes.
growing
And you
giant
did that
plants.
in between the concerts or like a certain time of the year? Okay.
It was kind of like in the summer
Uh-huh.
we would do it, and in the fall. You know, once I started growing, I kind of stopped doing tour because all summer you're
Yeah.
working very hard. Like that is the
Yeah.
hardest work I ever had to do. I see Chef Goof on here. He grows out where I used to grow, and it's the
Wow.
Wild West out there. Like, it
Hello,
was crazy.
everybody.
You know, we had helicopters that would fly over our heads, and it medically was legal, but
Mm-hmm.
federally was still very legal. So, I mean, we had, you know, my
Oh
friends
my
got arrested
gosh.
all the time. I had camp helicopters that would fly over, and you could see them counting your plants so close that you would see the
Wow.
colors of their eyes. Like, they were so close, and you have to post up your medical license. But, you know, it was a very confusing
Wow.
and very scary time to
Wow.
grow cannabis
Oh my
out there.
gosh. You know, you hear about, or I've heard about, you know, the planes flying over. Um, but I didn't know they like helicoptered low like that. And
Yeah,
literally,
very low.
wow.
1, 2, 3,
Wow.
4,
Wow.
5. Yep. And they would come
Oh my
cut
God.
down everything. There would be people who would steal your water, like, so much that just, you
What
know,
was
you
your
lose
most
everything.
memorable experience from that time in California, growing and going through all of that?
Definitely, you know, the part I think that obviously sticks out the most was
Mm-hmm.
definitely the helicopters. It definitely was
Mm-hmm.
very traumatic and very scary. Like, I was doing things that I could have easily, you know, they could have just came and got us for it. And, you know, thank God it's a little bit better out there now. It's definitely not like it was, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still very scary. And, you know, I think
Mm-hmm.
just how hard it really is
Mm-hmm.
to grow
Yeah, it's hard to
cannabis.
grow in itself,
Like,
and then you have to deal with the layers of,
and
yeah,
it doesn't rain
yeah,
out there in the summer. So you're just like in a
yeah. Oh
drought.
my gosh, the lack of water is traumatic. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Wow, that's so. There's so many loaded stories in your story. So you know, we talked about all that there. I mean, just California. I mean, I can have 1,000 questions for you about that. I can have 1,000 questions for you about being traveling with the Grateful Dead. I mean, you told me you did that,
Yeah. I probably can't answer most of them for
right?
you, but
Um, you told me that you traveled with them, but 8 years. I didn't know it was 8 years. That's a lot of
yeah.
time, and I'm sure there's a whole culture in that in itself.
Yeah.
Um, that's a lot. That's a lot. So when you were growing in California, was that your first time? Um, I guess being involved in the industry of cannabis.
Yeah, I mean, that was really my first big
Mm-hmm.
time, like, anything like growing or anything like that. I never really got to, you know, involved on the East Coast. Like, I was pretty well behaved until I like got to
Yeah,
Deadport, aside
yeah,
from like my
yeah.
cannabis stuff. You know, I was straight A student,
Mm-hmm.
honor roll, you know, and then I just
Yeah.
ran off with the Grateful
Well,
Dead.
that's the time to do
That
it when you're
happened.
young, just go live life.
Yeah, exactly. It was
Yeah.
great. I'm so glad.
Yes. Well, very, very interesting. Very interesting. So, you started off talking about your experience in the D.A.R.E program, and I posted about it today. I don't know if anyone saw it. You had done a reel, and you were just talking about how silly you felt that you looked. And I'm just like, whatever, we all love D.A.R.E. We all were miseducated, right? So what do you remember most about the D.A.R.E. program, and how did that process of unlearning look like to you over that time?
You know, what I really remember, what stood out to me at D.A.R.E, my stepfather had a friend who lived downstairs, and I remember the officer saying things about my stepfather's friend, and now I know. I'm like, yeah, like he smokes weed
Yeah.
now, but back then I didn't know. And I remember the officer asking me questions and me relating them to him. And I was like, okay, that's weird. And then I also remember feeling like I needed to tell that officer about that person downstairs. I never did, because I had like a weird, but I just remember that very weird feeling of like them teaching me that he was doing something wrong, and I didn't know why, but that I had to report him. And that's what that's really like what sticks out to me the most about it. Like I won the D.A.R.E. essay. I was a great writer. I won all kinds of writing contests. Like I could have won any writing contest at that age probably. But I do remember that feeling, and it was like a pit in my stomach. Like, ooh, I don't like this. Like he's not bad. Like he's a good friend of ours.
Interesting. You know? Huh. I remember feeling like that about littering when I was little. Like, if someone litter, I remember seeing someone litter, and I was like, I have to write down their license plate number and report it to the authorities. Maybe, maybe they're indoctrinating, like telling on the bad person, whether it be for littering or drugs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a part of D.A.R.E. for sure. But, and also like alcohol never came up in D.A.R.E. Do you know what I mean? Like very rarely was it ever focused on. And like, I grew up in a lot of alcohol in my culture. Like I thought it was normal for every adult to come home and drink. Like I thought that's what you did. I thought that right now, talking to you, we would both have wine, and every other adult did. And I thought that was normal. And D.A.R.E. never taught me that wasn't normal.
That part. Yes, exactly. Very interesting how that just missed the curriculum all around. So, unlearning. You started unlearning yourself at 15, right? That's when it started. Did you do you remember doing any type of like, unlearning where you literally had to question yourself or what you had learned up until then?
I think it just kind of happened organically. Even before the Dead, they had a series. I just got really into like hippies and the 60s and like all that. And then I got like very into like Albert Hoffman, and I was very into like just like protesting and being involved. And I think that just kind of they kind of like go hand in hand.
It does. It absolutely does. So in your story, you also have unfortunately had some run-ins with the court system. I think all in Connecticut, right? Where you're from, right?
Yeah.
So can you just high level tell us what happened, and tell us what frustrated you the most about that process?
Yeah. So, my first run-in was when I moved back from California. I didn't have a Connecticut cannabis card yet, and my parents were not big into cannabis, and they were like, she uses cannabis, like this isn't okay. They were misinformed, so they called DCF. I ended up having to go to court.
Parents called DCF?
It was.
Oh no!
It was my parents that called. Yeah. So they ended up. I went to court, and they just like they pretty much told me like I should take Xanax instead of cannabis if I had anxiety. They, the people who had custody of my daughter at the time told them we drink every day. They had no issue with that. But my cannabis use was a whole thing. I told them, what if I get my card? They told me it's too new. The law won't apply to you. So fast forward, that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
That was before it was
Yeah.
recreationally legal. Fast forward
Mm-hmm.
to September of this year, my son has a behavior issue in school, and my other son went to school, and he told them, my mom went to a cannabis party, but I wasn't allowed to go.
You think?
And so they put my son's behavior issue and that comment together, and the school called DCF
Oh
and
my
said that I was
gosh.
abusing my children. Um, yeah, DCF came to my house, and they ran through my house. I showed, my kids are very educated on cannabis. They know what a pot leaf looks like. They know what my cannabis looks like. I showed them my kids were educated. I showed
Mm-hmm.
them myself was
Mm-hmm.
locked up in this box, and they really
Mm-hmm.
had no problem with it.
DCF didn't. DCF. I'm saying that right.
They
Yeah. Yeah.
DCF did not have a problem. The school ended up getting in more trouble than
Oh
me.
my gosh. And let's also say
Yeah,
that cannabis was legal at that point. Recreational
it
cannabis
was
was
legal.
legal
Yep,
for over
for
a
over a
year.
year,
And yet they
for
still
almost a year.
had
Yeah,
basis to call DCF on you. That's the part that's like blows my mind.
recreational sales were legal. They were selling it between my house and the school. You can recreationally buy
And so what
cannabis.
was
Like I
their
drive by it
basis
every
of
day.
why they felt the need to call? Just because they were uncomfortable with it?
Just because they were uncomfortable, and like, I mean, really, CPS or DCF can come to your house. Like they can just come to your house, like on a very
Mm.
small thing, and they don't really have to have any basis to go off of
Mm.
anything. So, she called me, she came over, she was like, I do not have a problem with this. And I asked her, I said, if my son said I went to a bar and he couldn't go, would it be the same result? And she was like, no. So
Hooey, ooey. So, I'm so glad that you were using your LOCKGREEN stash box and you had locked up your goods so that the children can have access.
yes.
And I also love that you educate your kids and you let them know when they see this symbol that is mommy's do not touch. If you have any questions, ask mommy. Don't touch, things. I think that's so important. That's so important
Yep.
to do. So kudos to you, mama.
Because my house is not
Yeah,
the only
when they
place
get
they're gonna
older,
find
they're gonna have
cannabis.
friends. They're gonna, they may be over auntie's house or uncle's house. You know what I mean? Like it could be all types of scenarios.
Right.
Yeah. So kudos to you, mama, for doing that. So which is a good segue into Normal Moms Club, what you have started. Tell us a little bit more about
Yeah.
Normal Moms Club, what it is, and what you have coming up here soon.
Yeah, so Normal Moms Club, I started a little bit before the pandemic. I think everybody started to get really lonely. Everybody had like all these like crazy ideas about how we were all such different
Yeah.
moms and everybody was battling over them. And I was like, okay, but let's find like our commonality. You know what I mean? And it was not meant ever to be mean. You know what I mean? It just kind of morphed into that because as I started talking about my struggles and my kids' struggles and my son's eczema, I just started when I got my medical card, I became comfortable talking about my cannabis use. And as I talked about it, more and more moms came out of the woodwork privately to me about their cannabis use because a lot of moms still don't feel comfortable here in Connecticut. There's still a big stigma, obviously, which is why I share my DCF story so that, they can be educated and they can be empowered because if you're not educated and empowered in this, then it is scary. So I really started it so that, we could come together, we could have this community, we could have a safe space of moms using cannabis and the cannabis be safe because, also we have issues with mold and quality here in Connecticut. And a lot of people don't know that. They don't know what moldy cannabis looks like. They don't know what any of that looks like. So if I got pleurisy from smoking cannabis that had mold on it. It's an infection in the lining of my lungs. And if I smoke bad cannabis, like I can get it back and my lung can collapse. But if I don't know that and I don't teach people that, They don't know
Yeah,
that, and the
yeah,
same can
that is
happen to them.
so important. At Lock Green, I'm always talking about education, and it's tied into what you said. You said about like having knowledge and being empowered. I forgot what the first word you said was, but when you know, oh, being educated and empowered. When you know what your
Yeah.
laws are in your state, that empowers you because you now know your limits that you need to work within. That doesn't mean that you have to like the laws. Okay. I always emphasize that because, we're always pushing for fairer
Yeah.
and more, better laws. But once you know that, you know how you can operate, you are empowered. And then furthermore, learning like what you're teaching about the mold and all these things. I think it's important that you have that platform because there's a lot of new women to cannabis, new moms to cannabis. I think it's the fastest growing segment of consumers. And that, those are things that you learn. Those
Hmm.
are like important facts that you need to know as you go about this journey. So that's really awesome that you do that through your platform. What do you have coming up with Normal Moms Club that people can plug into?
Yeah. So coming up soon, I'm actually working with somebody and we're developing a class to teach your
Mm.
kids about cannabis to
Uh-huh.
help you teach
Mm-hmm.
them about it. That's, really the biggest thing. I also, locally, I'm always doing like
Mm-hmm.
overdose response trainings, things to just really teach
Yeah.
parents to teach their kids about what's out there, whether it be, just smart
Mm-hmm.
ways to be out on the
Mm-hmm.
streets. Because our kids, as the parents who are using cannabis,
Mm-hmm.
we're the more open parents, and we have a
Oh yeah.
responsibility to really teach our kids about the real world. I think that what we've all learned through this is there's so many scary things
Yeah.
out there that
Yeah.
we're not in
Yeah.
control of. So, with Normal Moms Club, I really try to just
Yes.
kind of break all the
Yes.
stigmas, because there are
That's right.
so many stigmas out there. And until we break those stigmas of, drugs, cannabis, opiates, Narcan, we're at risk of
That's
those,
right.
of being in trouble for them
That's
and them hurting us
that
and
is
our
so
kids.
right. That is so true. Yes, it's an important platform that you have for sure. So drop a gem for us. So when I say drop a gem, I want you to share what you've learned from your experience of being in this cannabis industry. And from your perspective, you started from the advocacy piece. Well, I guess if you go back, you started in cultivation, right? But
Yeah.
now you're in the space of advocacy. Tell us what you've learned that you can share with us that we can learn from as well. That's your gem, your drop of knowledge.
Yeah. My biggest drop of knowledge, and I tell people this all the time, is just really have confidence in
Mm-hmm.
everything that you're posting.
Mm-hmm.
Really believe in it. Post things that you don't second guess, because people are going to
Mm-hmm.
hate
That's right.
everything that you post. There's going to be someone
That's
from
right.
every end that's going to hate what you post. And if you don't truly believe in it, they can get
Mm-hmm.
inside and they can pick you apart and you
Mm-hmm.
will feel bad
Mm-hmm.
about it. No matter what I post, I love my haters because I can tell
That's
them why they're
right.
wrong.
That's right. That's right.
Because I
That's
believe
right.
why I'm wrong. And
That's
I'm
right.
not right in
Mm-hmm.
everybody's eyes, but that's it. Just be obsessed with yourself. Be
It's
obsessed with your story and your
amazing
mission.
that how people are on social media, on the internet. I mean, I post to a lot of different pages about education and everything. I mean, I have people saying you can't drive with cannabis in your car, it's so stupid, this is stupid and she's stupid and he's stupid, I mean, like real bold, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. If you're confident in what you're saying and the information that you're putting out, even those folks that are misinformed and just plain rude, you can shirk that off. I mean, it still can hurt, depending on what type of person you are, your
Right.
personality, how quickly things fall off of you or not. But I mean, it's like you're the one that doesn't know it. Anyways, moving on. I'll argue. I mean, I don't argue online, but I might say something to correct you. I might not. But I'm confident in what I said. So
Yeah.
I love that piece.
Sometimes you just put that strict
Exactly.
button and let them keep talking about to
Exactly. But
themselves.
it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen, and that's so important to just be firm in what you believe and be solid in what you believe and know that you're right because you've done your research. You're educated and empowered.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So before we go over what's in your stash box, Mallory, tell people how to connect with you.
So you can find me at Normal Moms Club on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all platforms. Somehow I managed to get that Instagram. You can email me at mallory@normalmomsclub.com.
Awesome. So
but not till tomorrow because my server's down until then.
Yes, whatever technical difficulties are going on. But they can connect with you on social media platforms. Just the email, just wait.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always Normal Moms Club.
Awesome. So we are going to go, we're at 6:30, but that's okay because what's important is we covered the last part. I wanted to make sure that you told people how to get in contact with you. Please share with us what's in your stash box. And let us know the brands too. Yes. If it's a brand that you love or that you support, let us know because we can learn. We can learn from you.
Yeah. Yes. So what I have up here, I keep like my food and my snacks. These gummies, they're called Sugar High. Fantastic gummies, but like I would eat these even if they didn't have cannabis in them. They have like blue slushy flavored key lime pie. They're just like delicious. And they're 50 milligrams a piece. These people are called It's Pot Coffee. They make infused coffee, creamer, instant coffee, sugar, lemonade, like lemonade mix, like Kool-Aid.
Yeah,
I'm a big drink fan. These are all out of Connecticut. Yeah, I'm a member of a club. If you follow me, I'm a member of this really cool club, and we all like share all kinds of stuff. We meet up twice a week. These are like infused Kool-Aid packets that this guy Martian had. Like amazing the stuff they come out with. Obviously I have, my vapes here, Prime Nectar I use a lot, and High Tide, Mother Teresa, and it also has those. Cannabis brands, like we're so lucky. Sage Trees is out of California. They actually like grow there. That's who I was saying, like they do it big. Like they're out in the Wild West doing it amazingly. They're actually a Black and family owned business, so I'd love to support them. This is from Ice Cream Exotics, Keys, Connecticut. We have Ganja Girls, Sherbaccio. I also have an apple fritter from her. Dabs from Ganja Girls, and Happy Twisted High. And yeah, that's really it. That is just like my grinders. I have my like cords in here so I can charge all my little things because otherwise I lose them. So yeah, I love all these little things to keep everything separate. I love this thing. I carry it everywhere.
Oh my God, I love it. I love how you, for some reason, well, first of all, I love people using the stash box overall, but those elastic bands, I love how people organize stuff in there because I see it's
so handy.
Different ways, depending on how they're using their stash box. They may have lighters, they may have, the vape pens, the cartridges. I mean, all kinds of stuff goes in there, but they don't move. And I love that. I love how you have everything organized in your own way. Do you use?
Yeah. If I have a bunch of like,
do you use all three dividers in the bottom? You have the large one. Do you use all three? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Depending on how big my jars are, because sometimes I have like bigger jars. Gotcha. But if you have bigger ones, all three. Yeah. I like to do like that. I'll make a smaller section for like the dab ones, and then do the weed ones.
Love it. Okay, you guys, thank you for joining us. This is going to be replayed on my Instagram page as well as YouTube. But for everyone watching, you can save 10% off of your order with Mallory's code. What is your code, Mallory? One word. Normal Moms Club. When you go to make your LOCKGREEN purchase, put in Normal Moms Club in the discount, and it will save you 10% off your order. It's like a built-in sale for this particular live interview. So thank you so much, Mallory.
Keep it.
That's
Don't
right.
get caught without it. You know, have this if you have kids. This was so great to
That's right.
have, and
They
you're
can't get
gonna
into it.
mess
It's
with
locked up.
yourself.
Lock it up. Lock it up. Yes.
My baby daddy can't get into this when he comes over either.
Yes.
That's also a huge
That's why I
plus.
say kids, pets, and other unwanted guests who could be ex-spouses, current spouses, house guests, parents, brothers, sisters, anybody. Oh, and Alyssa pointed out something too that I forgot to mention. You have your medical card. I didn't know if it was your medical card or a license.
I do. That one's
Yes.
expired, but I do keep it
There
in
you
there
go.
just because,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. A lot of people
might
tell
as
me when they go
well.
to the dispensary, they just have it all in one place, and then they have it as soon as they
Oh, yeah.
leave
That's
the
what I do. Just bring it
dispensary.
right
It's
in.
just, you know, boom, they have it there when they need it, and then they pack it and then put it in the trunk and they're off. So I love how you're using that feature of it as well. Thank you, Alyssa, for pointing that out. Okay, everybody else, if you're not connected to LOCKGREEN, please connect with us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn at LOCKGREEN Products. And connect with us via our email list as well. You'll get all kind of updates when we have new product rollouts, all types of stuff, cannabis news, all that good stuff. We are building our community, and we would love for you all to be a part of it. All right. So thank you, Mallory, for your time tonight, and everyone else who joined us.
Thank
Yes.
you. It was so nice to talk to you.
Yeah,
Thanks for this awesome product.
I love to hear it.
Seriously.
Thank you. And give those little boys and your daughter a hug. Tell them thank you for sharing their mommy for 30 minutes. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all have a good night. Thank you. Bye, Mallory.
Bye, guys.